What's going on, everyone? Alex here. I wanted to share with you a few thoughts on something that I've been considering and contemplating for a while that I found really helpful, has kind of cleared up a few things for me that I thought would be helpful for you. And it's along the lines of neglect versus commitment. Two sides of the same kind of coin, and how valuable it is in seeing things in this way. So many of us, we have these things that we want to create in our lives. We have these insights that come up that say, I'd like to do this, I'd love this to happen in my life. Maybe it's writing a book, or building a successful app business, or becoming a successful artist. We have these ideas, but a lot of the time we don't assign a powerful enough commitment to the thing. We don't verbally make an agreement with ourselves that says, this is what I'm doing, I'm going to go all in on this, I'm going to make sure this happens, I'm going to do whatever it takes. You're really attaching significance to the creation of whatever it is that you want to create in the form of a commitment. So commitments are so important, and whenever we kind of don't truly make these agreements, we don't truly put these commitments down, it's very easy to sort of fall by the wayside and let whatever we wanted to create kind of not really happen in the way that we want them to, and things we give up, and we end up kind of slipping on our plans, and maybe we don't show up as much as we wanted to. And what's so important if we're to create anything, and this in an extremely distracting world with lots of things dragging us left and right, it's so important to create commitments, to have something that's verbally agreed on with yourself. Maybe it's something that you write down, and you make a point of committing to something. It could be that you want to build a coaching business like I'm doing, but in order to do that, you really need to have a firm commitment in place that says, this is what I'm doing, I'm going all in, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to make this happen. And if you haven't got the commitment there, then things don't tend to work out the way that you want. And what I've seen is that when we don't have firm commitments, we tend to neglect things in our lives. So we may have things that we want to have happen. So an example from my world is, I want to write a fiction novel, and I've established the want, I've established my interest, and I've said, I'd love to write a fiction book, and I'm going to write as much as I can towards this book. But what I found is that because my commitment was not strong, and I have commitments in other places, what's happened is that my writing fiction has been neglected. So where there is lack of commitment, there is neglect. And you'll probably see this in your life as well, in various forms. What you are not committed to, you are going to inevitably neglect. So where there is a lack of commitment around exercise, you're going to neglect exercise. Where there's a lack of commitment around brushing your teeth every day, you're going to neglect brushing your teeth. Where there's a lack of commitment around really showing up every day to grow your business and to do something, to make 1% improvements every single day towards building the business of your dreams. If you haven't got the commitment and you're not honoring that commitment every day, you're going to inevitably neglect it. And what happens with neglect is that we end up disliking the very thing that we're neglecting. This always happens. So if you look to your own life at the things you might be neglecting, even if it's things that you want to do, even if it's things that you said that you would set out to do and create, if you haven't got the commitment, you're going to neglect it. You're going to miss days. You're not going to show up every day. You're going to skip days when you don't feel in the mood to exercise, and that leads to neglect. When we have things that we're neglecting, we inevitably dislike it. I know that I'm repeating myself, but I think sometimes things bear repeating. So if we're neglecting our exercise, we're going to start disliking exercise. We're going to have a bad feeling in our stomach whenever we think about exercise. We're going to be like, oh no, I haven't been doing enough, right? I should be doing more exercise. And of course we end up associating negative feelings and dislike with the very thing that we had set out to do. So what this really drives the point home is the importance of commitment. Like if you're not committed, you're inevitably going to you're going to miss out on doing the things you need to do to really make a go of it, to really make a success of it. That's going to lead to neglect. It's going to lead to the thing gathering rust and dust, and you're going to look at that thing and you're going to dislike it. You're going to not be happy with what you're creating, and that leads to sort of a negative cycle of neglect, disliking it, not wanting to go near it. And this is why things don't happen the way that we want them to, and it is rooted to a lack of commitment, a lack of agreement with yourself, a lack of creating a system that springs from that commitment. First comes commitment. I'm going to do this no matter what it takes. I'm gonna create this thing. I'm gonna build a business, and I'm gonna go through the pain of it if that is what's required to build a business and the experience and skill set around it. I just found that really interesting. I don't know if this is as powerful a point as I had initially intended to deliver with this, but I think it's relevant because sometimes we can wonder why things aren't happening the way we want them to, and it makes total sense that if the thing that we're wanting to do and create, maybe we want a fit body, but we're neglecting it, we're inevitably going to be unhappy with the situation. So it's in our absolute best interest to not neglect the things that we want to create in this world. We only have one life, we have one go at this thing. We want to make sure that the things we set out to do, we are putting everything we can into. We want it to be a success. We want to look at the thing that we're creating, the business, the service business, the app, the product, the art. We want to look at it and be pleased with what we're creating. We want to be pleased with the effort and the time and attention we're putting into it. We want to see that we're not neglecting it, because when we don't neglect things, when we bring our love and attention and energy to the things that we're building. It's extremely cold here. We've got a storm rolling in, snow coming down in spring. When we don't neglect things, when we put what is required into the thing, we're going to start falling in love with it. And that's where passion comes from. Passion comes from the realization that comes from loving what's happening when you're putting attention and time and energy into things. And that comes from commitment. So bear that in mind. And it's just, again, I'm speaking to myself here, the importance of making that firm commitment. And sometimes that means having to say no to a lot of other things. We have to be really rigorous and strict in many cases, because if we're not strict and we give ourselves many options, and we give ourselves distractions, and we allow distractions into our lives, and we allow ourselves to have weak boundaries so that we say yes to many things, and it might seem nice on the outset that we have lots of things going on in our lives and lots of products we're working on, but what's it doing to your ability to put everything into things and not neglect things? You don't want to find yourself falling out of love with the things that you want to be creating in your life, that make sense for you to create in your life. It could be a family, it could be relationships, whatever it is. We don't want to be neglecting the things that matter. So put your awareness on the things that matter. What are the things that matter to you? And where are the commitments needed to be placed, so that you don't neglect the things that matter, so that you do fall in love with the things that matter? Because that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about falling in love with the things that matter. Even if that falling in love involves a certain amount of pain and struggle, it's worth it, because you're creating something that's worth creating. So sometimes that pain is worth it. So just bear in mind that interesting dynamic between neglect that can inevitably happen when we don't commit, and falling in love and creating passion for things that happen when we do commit to things. So commitment leads to passion, leads to success, leads to completing things. All right, we're in a proper snowstorm here, so I'm going to bow out, but that's just today's thought. Make sure you don't neglect the things that are worth doing. Make sure you put that commitment in place. I'm not going to repeat myself anymore. I'm covered in snow. All's good in the world. I'll be back with more videos. Make sure you subscribe. Do like this video if this made sense and you liked it. And I will see you in the next one. Peace out, guys.